Hello and welcome to SEOcharity webinar with Seth Goldstein and Anton Schulke. Today, we are going to talk about how to start your own podcast, which will help you create or identify your brand identity better and to attract more business revenue, you encounter new people, and so on. And at the moment, I want to pass the word to Anton. Anton, tell us more about this project and why we are here.
Yeah, every single one we start the same way. First, Alisa started explaining to YouTube algorithm what we are talking about, and after that, I'm explaining what's the project. So doing it every time, and I'm kind of getting it worse and worse and worse because it was kind of easier on the first place. Now it's difficult because I don't know what to mention, what not to mention. Okay, I'll just explain. This is SEO. They call it SEO charity because and we collect money for cats and dogs shelters in Ukraine. Right now, we support 5 shelters. It's about 300 plus animals. Those shelters, they're not shelters like maybe you think of. Sorry. Cats and dogs are not in cages. They're basically family ones. So they're in a real flats or houses, depends on which one we are talking. And I said 300 plus because they're getting more animals, rescued animals. Some animals dying, obviously. So we started it 4.5 years ago in March 2021, and when war started in Ukraine. Before that, it was still those shelters existed and they needed money, but after war started, it became really much more harder to get money and everything. So they're struggling all the time. We're trying to collect money. We call it SEO charity because I try to use trust we already have with SEO people. Because obviously, you give it even if you give it $10, you're not gonna give it to someone you never heard about. You either give it to huge established organizations, or you give it to people you know that they won't steal your money, they won't just I don't know, drink coffee or whatever they do. So they call it SEO charity. But we are very welcome to people who not exactly SEO. I'm gonna ask Seth if he thinks he is SEO or he's not an SEO.
I do
Because
love
today
SEO. I do a lot of SEO, but I'm focusing more on podcasting lately. But I do have a background in SEO as well. So yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Then you fit perfectly well. But guys, if you listen, if you're watching us, and if you don't think you SEO, but you still want to help with your donation or with your knowledge share, like Seth is doing today, you're very welcome. We're not really saying if you're not SEO, go. No, we're absolutely open for any marketers. If you want to help us to collect money for those animals, please do. All together, so we're doing live streams like today, single live streams. Also, we're doing a conference. It's a longer, 4 or 5 hours conference. Online conference. We do it once a year. It's usually September and March. Next one will be somewhere in March. We haven't put a date, but if you want to be part of it, please do approach Alessia or myself. And you might do it. We're also interested. As I said, if you're not exactly SEO and you're doing, I don't know, YouTube stuff, podcast, you're very welcome to join us. Okay, so we collected more or less $100,000 for those 4 years, which sounds a fantastic amount. If somebody would give me $100,000 today, I would be very happy. But obviously, we're talking about 300 animals, and it's split on 4.5 years. It's not that huge as this. So we do need money every week. So if you can donate $10, please do donate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I hope each one of you will have your own podcast by the end of this day, because as far as I understand, SATS technology, it's not it is not hard when you know what you are doing. So you'll know what you are doing by the end of this webinar. And I hope it will help you attract lots of people into business, customers, people that may help you in your networking, whatever else. And I hope that your business grows, you earn lots of money and can donate to SEOcharity afterwards when
Absolutely,
you are rich, like you can use this code, for example, to do that. And I cannot wait to start. A few words about SAD before we begin. And SAD has been doing podcasts for 15 years now, I guess, if not more. He calls himself a veteran of the podcast space, which is, of course, like true. And he's got two podcasts that I have heard of. The first one is Entrepreneurs Enigma, and the second one is Digital Marketing Dive. Also, SAD helps podcasters to begin their own podcast, and gives them coaching and setup and everything, how to do that, and explains and follows with them on this journey. Goal of SAD is to help as many people as possible to grow their brands online through podcasting and increase the return on investment for their own businesses. So, Seth, I'm passing the word to you. I'm all ears because I don't have a podcast. Anton doesn't have podcast. We were wondering, should we do podcast for SEOcharity?
Oh, absolutely. Talk about the pets. Do like a 6-minute pet podcast. Have the pet come on the podcast and hold them, and you can have a lot of fun with that. So here I'm gonna put my presentation up here. Present. I think I did that right. Did I do that right?
Yeah.
There we go. Great. And I just click that button to go forward. Technology likes me today. That's fantastic. So the topic of the podcast today is start that podcast already. A lot of people have been thinking about podcasts, especially since we're what I like to call the third renaissance of podcasting. The first was 2005 to about 2010, when podcasting was really niche and it was very, I would say, hard to you had to like code your RSS feed. You had to, everything was very, very duct tape and chicken wire for that, for the most part. The second renaissance was 2010 to 2020, about the pandemic. When things got a little more democratized, things like Google Hangouts on Air enabled people to do more recording. Zoom came on the scene around 2011, and you were able to actually share your content visually and via audio easier that way. And then the third renaissance is when everyone and their grandmother started doing a podcast during the pandemic. And that's what we're in right now. There's a lot of podcasts out there. I'll advance the screen here. There's a lot of podcasts out there, but ultimately there's 4 million podcasts out there. Of that, 60,000 are really active. And real quick, this QR code goes to your donation link. So please donate as much as you can today. This pup is my dog Olive. She is a 65-pound air doodle. She was adopted from Mississippi. She's a giant love bug, and she's such a sweetheart, and we love her so much. So we were happy to adopt her, and she's my chief distraction officer because she distracts me throughout the day constantly. Usually to go for a walk or to cuddle or get a treat. So a little bit about me. Who is this Seth fella? I'm a former newspaper journalist, podcast veteran of 15 plus years. I've done digital marketing. So as I mentioned before, I have done SEO for a while as well. I've hosted up to 10 podcasts since 2010. Some have gone 10 episodes. Some have gone, like Entrepreneurs Enigma is going on 300 episodes, past 300 episodes. On Digital Marketing Dive, I think it's at 104 seasons worth of episodes. But I ran hey, there's Simon. Hey, Simon. Ran a small regional podcast network in the late 2010s called the Philly Tech Podcast Network. It was a little Philly centric because everyone who was on the network was in the Philadelphia area, but it wasn't really totally Philly. So, but I could do podcasters and aspiring podcast guests on how to master the craft and not fizzle out, which is kind of key because it could be a lie if you don't have things planned out properly. So here's an example from the podcast index. This is the second biggest index out there after Apple. This is the open source podcast. 4.5 million podcasts out there. Of that, there's probably 200,000 that are going, but then there's like 60,000 that are actually sticking around on an ongoing basis. So only 5% of all podcasts make it to 100. Like, that's insane. Like, my cat's not moving, but the cat was supposed to go, but it's not working. But when you download the deck later, you'll have an animated cat GIF down there. After 100 episodes, your show is considered established. I usually say you don't have to do 100 episodes in one fell swoop. You can have seasons. Like Digital Marketing Dive has like 12 episodes a season. It's been going for 6 years, and we're about 105 episodes now.
But it's like a startups. 5% of startup or something go over 1 or 2 years, something like that. So it's very, very similar, isn't it?
It is, and it's a time commitment. Yeah, and when you don't do a ongoing podcast, like Entrepreneurs Thing has been weekly for the past 4 years. Every week there's a podcast episode. What you want to do is you want to set expectations with your audience. What to expect? Is this going to be a weekly podcast? Is this going to be, God forbid, a daily podcast? Because there's some podcasts out there that do daily, which is insane. Is it going to be every 2 weeks? Is it going to be fortnightly? Is it going to be a monthly podcast? I generally say don't do longer than a month between shows because people will forget about you. But it is an uphill battle. But when you do it right, it's fun. So here. Now, more and more people listen to podcasts weekly. This is from Edison Research and the Pod News newsletter. James Cridland put this out. Weekly time spent on podcasts between 2015 and 2025 has been a 355% increase in people listening to podcasts. It's the new medium that people want to listen to content because it's not stuffy. You feel like you're in a conversation with people. There's all different kinds of formats of podcasts that people can listen to and enjoy. And that's really why people have really glommed on to podcasting. 73% of those ages 12 plus. So there's kids listening to the podcasts have consumed a podcast. 55% have consumed podcasts in the last month, so on and so forth. Since 2015, that is a 355% increase. Let's just let that sink in. That is a big increase. It's over 100%, clearly. So 55% of Americans are now monthly consumers of podcasts. And the majority of people listen to podcasts, don't watch a podcast. But still half watch a podcast. I mean, because a lot of shows I know, they put the video on YouTube and they put the audio out on the RSS feeds in the podcast catchers and directories. So you can consume it however you want. My big thing is that if you just put out a video and you don't have it in the podcast format, it's not a podcast, it's a video. Nothing against it, but it's not a podcast. You have to have it as in an RSS feed that people can get and listen to in a podcast player. And I will stand on that hill. So again, this is a little bit more of the kind of topics that people listen to a lot. Obviously, comedy, people want the comic relief when they listen to things. But then it goes, news is the next big one, pop culture, all that good stuff. This is kind of the breakdown of it. I kind of find interesting that technology is only at 18%, which is very interesting because all I listen to podcast-wise are usually tech podcasts. But, self-improvement's a little bit above that. So that's always very interesting. Now, influence. Now, this is what I thought was very interesting. Influencers are not as influential as podcasters. Because influencers, if you think about it, they're doing reels, they're doing short-form video. People aren't coming back and listening to an influencer all the time like they do with podcasts. They're not becoming a staple in their media consumption diet. Because most podcasters don't fit into the mold of influencer, but they influence more. So the whole idea is you want to, ironically, Ironically, sponsors are only starting to wake up to the fact that they should be sponsoring podcasters more than they should be sponsoring influencers. And so we're slowly getting more of an increase in people sponsoring podcasts. And honestly, it doesn't have to be a very big show like Joe Rogan or Mel Robbins or Gary Vee's show. You can have a dedicated audience in a niche that is listening to you and you're influencing, and a sponsor will want to sponsor you because to get in front of those 300 people that listen to you every month. First, Joe Rogan can come up and say, "Hey, I have more than 1 million views on every episode. Sponsor me," and people, but then they have to look at the price of how much is to sponsor on that show. So more data about you have podcasters have a more deeper connection with their audience. They become kind of second family members almost, or friends with the podcaster in a weird kind of third party way. Here's another thing thought to the benefit of podcasting. You get to meet interesting people. I've met Guy Kawasaki on my show, which is, he's the former Apple evangelist, now Canva influencer, all that, which is very neat. Rand Fishkin, who we all know, I've had him on the show. I've had Evo Terra, who's an original podcasting guru. I hate the word guru, but we'll go with it. And Mark Schaefer, who a lot of people know Mark Schaefer, who is prolific with book writing. Like every blink, he has another book out. So I've had him on 2 or 3 times talking about his books. But you meet interesting people. You get access to events and products if relevant before others do, because people want you to talk about the product and stuff on the show. Also, I've seen people get jobs from doing their podcasts, and then doing the podcast for the job that they get. And also, I like having a book, having a long-running podcast, 50+ episodes, is a badge of honor and a badge of endurance. Because I still can't believe I've done over 300 episodes of Entrepreneur's Enigma, especially when that's impossible to say. But and it gives you a lot of credibility when you have your own podcast. Here are some resources. Like I said, I will share this link out with. There'll be a link that people can download these slides and they can click on all of them. They are affiliate. Some of them are affiliate links, but they're all ones I use constantly. So I was like, put them up there. Podmatch is my favorite way to find guests to be on the show. When I don't know them originally, I go to Podmatch and find interesting people. Made some great friends, made some great deals from people who I've met on Podmatch because we said, "Oh, you do that? Oh, you can help me with this." And this kind of works out. I do suggest a scheduling tool like Calendly or Zcal, editing tools up there, hosting your podcast. There's a bunch of podcast hosts out there. They're not all created equal. They are not. I tend to go to transistor.fm or rss.com. Those tend to be the 2 big ones I like to send people to. And the other tools down there and whatnot. The best place to do album art, I think, is on Canva. It's just easy. But you need to have some catchy album art, and it works out nicely. And one of the biggest things I tell all my clients and my friends and all that is you need to keep track of your guests and your shows, either in a spreadsheet or in a Notion database, so that you can know when the show's coming up. Don't just put it on your calendar and then try and remember when the show's coming out. Have an organizational strategy around it. So that's very, very, very important. And then again, this is my 300th episode. Example of album art, digital marketing dive. Now, there's 2 ways of thinking about this. Entrepreneur's Enigma always has a different cover art for each episode. Has the guest and has the title on it. The digital marketing dive, since it's a audio only podcast, it's just the one out. It's the podcast album art, not the episode album art. Again, here you can connect with me. Podcastmaster.coach is my coaching program. I do have a community. If you can scan that, if you want to join it, it's free to join. I'm in there constantly giving out good free advice. There's a premium side to it where if you want to get in monthly masterminds and whatnot, of course, there's other stuff there. Please reach out to me with questions. Love it. The slide I'm pointing at the slide as if you can see my finger pointing at this, but anyhow, it's still, I've been on the internet for my whole life and I'm like still pointing at things. But anyhow, the slides are down there. You can download the slides. These I've made so that they're only going to be for this occasion. Other times I have a recurring deck that I update constantly. And then of course, donate. And that Ukrainian flag is supposed to go like this, but it isn't. So when you download the slide, it will move. I know it moves. It doesn't move when it's uploaded for some reason. But donate today. Help support these pups and kitty cats as much as possible because they are near and dear to my heart as well. So there we go. And that is the last slide. I guess if anyone has any questions, they can put them in the chat. I know Simon Cox is here, which is always a pleasure to see him here. And quick and easy tips to kind of get started with your podcast.
Have you seen NotebookLM by Google?
What's that?
NotebookLM by Google.
I love it for organizing data really quickly. So let's say you're doing a podcast and you're talking about a topic and you're doing it weekly, let's say. And they're journal articles that you have to kind of parse through and figure out, all that. Google LLM or Google LM is great for that because it will summarize it for you so you get all the key points out and it works fantastic. Their podcast sucks.
Why?
Because it's AI generated and it's fun for the first round of it, sayings and colloquialisms that they put in. But popcorn yellow straight smile. I like that. Thank you, Simon. But what it does is it sounds like a National Public Radio podcast, but it runs out of small talk after a while, and you'll hear that it repeats itself. It goes back to the top of the list. So it's not. I don't think it's something that you want to publish publicly, but it's something that it's definitely a great tool to kind of parse through stuff to get stuff organized for your show.
Did you know that you can participate in the talk with them? So when you start recording, you try that.
You can ask questions of your PDF essentially, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. It's kind of very boring because it takes quite a long time because they think.
You're like, what did I ask? You're like, what did I ask? Oh, that's what I asked. Scroll back up. Oh, that's what I asked.
But that's quite interesting, I think. And when it only emerged, people were very sad, most of my friends, because they said, podcasting has been my hobby for quite a while, and I adore doing that. And now Google ruined it with this NotebookLM. So
I don't think they did. I don't think they did. No, I don't think they did. I mean, I don't think AI. I mean, there's people trying to do AI podcasts, and there's something about podcasting where you need the personality of the person behind it. Humans have personality. AI doesn't have personality, and you'll miss out on the personality, and you kind of get the sense of who the person is. You get to know the person. You can't really get to know AI. It's just kind of the same thing every time.
But on the other hand, there are some fake personas or AI models, in Instagram, if we talk about Facebook today on Meta, and they create all these models, beautiful girls with their personality, lifestyle, and interests, and so on and so forth.
It still comes across.
They have lots of subscribers and all this kind of thing.
Yeah, there are the lonely people out there, but I'm sure those lonely people out there are still consuming regular podcasts as well. I mean, there's a spot for AI podcasts. Like if it's just straight information, and that, like I said, you want to learn about a topic and it's straight information, and it's just they just want to regurgitate, for lack of a better word, information to you. AI might be a great way to do that. If you want to have a conversation or an interview or a back and forth, or you want to present things in a more friendly manner, AI is not the way to go, in my opinion.
Okay, let's say we decided not to use AI. We created this podcast, uploaded it, launched it, and now Google's AI, OpenAI's AI, any other AI steals our podcast and trains their database on that, and we are left without nothing, and like they steal it, they generate their own. What do you think about that? Is there any safeguard to protect, or what can the creators do?
Honestly, if it gets sucked into AI, I mean, there's two ways to think about this. Oh no, we're screwed. Or oh yes, take the audio, take the transcripts, put it in the AI, and then it's like on YouTube, you have your sets, you have your set, formats that gets found in the algorithm. Essentially, you want to get found in the chat GPT search. So, it's not Google as Google's not the big dog as much in my mind as it once was, because ChatGPT has search. There's Gemini, there's AI search, there's all that stuff in Google as well. But I'm not against Google using my content if they're going to rank my content and then give me a citation back.
What if they are not going to do that? What if they are not going to do that?
Well, then that's wrong. That's jerky. But generally, I've seen most LLMs do cite the source. And every once in a while, they make up a source that doesn't exist, and that's always fun to find out.
But maybe what Alessia meant, it's not about sourcing or not sourcing. It's about training AI on your 300 episodes, and it's not sourcing. It's just training, and after that, they produce 301 episodes on their own.
Yeah, and they produce the content based on you. You have this link to the source which no one ever follows. You lose your users.
I haven't found that happening though. People that are dedicated listeners and podcasts tend to come as much for the content as for the people, for the hosts, for the personalities. Now, if you are doing a straight one-person podcast, talking head podcast, I get that might be a concern. But if you're having an interview podcast and every week you're having a new guest on, and I'm not as concerned about that, because you're still providing good content. People are going to want to hear Seth's next interview, or Anton's next interview with the next person on, in SEO, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a concern. I just think we're still in the very beginning of everything, and we kind of have to wait to see. I don't think blocking the AI crawlers is necessarily the smartest thing to do yet.
No.
So, have to say, all right, new world. So,
what about placing this content on the paywall so that the AI bots, they see the titles, they see like the description, but cannot access the data itself? And
you put a paywall, and you're also restricting your audience then, because ultimately you want this. That's the way to do it, is to put out a premium feed and have people pay for your show. But if you're nobody and you're just starting your podcast out there, no one's going to pay for your podcast until they listen to it. I mean, maybe your mom, exactly. My mom wouldn't even pay for it, I don't think. But the funny thing is I find that a lot of what a lot of podcasters do is they build an ROI around their podcast, their ebooks, the e-learnings, their coaching practices, like I do around my podcast. So the podcast is always free, but they have ebooks that they send people to. They have courses, they have coaching, they have services that they offer that are complementary to the podcast.
Yeah, but I think resisting AI is kind of similar. If we go 200 years back when the railroads were invented, a lot of people who were doing transportation using horsepower, they were very against it for obvious reasons. And I even know the stories in some countries where you can bribe things. Those transportation people, they bribed officials, so the railroads goes around their town, and what they end up, this town basically died, commercially died. Yeah, they thought that they will preserve their business, but this business completely collapsed because nobody goes to their town anymore because they don't care.
They can't get to it.
Yeah, exactly. So if today you try to resist, you might win, for a couple of seconds. Well, after that, you will lose, unless AI will die, which I don't believe it.
It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere, unfortunately. or fortunately. I mean, it's not going anywhere.
Unfortunately, yeah,
It really depends on, it's kind of learning to live with AI and not necessarily resisting it, but kind of figuring out how you can use it for your own benefit.
You started talking that no one will listen to your podcast if you make it under paywall right from the beginning. How do you start attracting audience to a podcast? So someone starts, Anton and me start a podcast as a charity. How do we attract audience to listen to
Talk
that?
about it on social media. Announce that you're doing an SEO charity podcast. I mean, I think it's easier for you guys because you guys are known people in the space, and everyone knows Anton. Much to his chagrin sometimes, but if he says he's doing an SEO podcast with you, you're going to have some instant traction on it. People everyone has someone who knows them, and if they're connected on social media with them, that's a potential listener. And yeah, it's a 12-month uphill battle to get a podcast really started. You're not going to have the first 3 episodes are going to be lost to the wind half the time. That people will go back and listen to the first episode maybe, but maybe they shouldn't because the first episode is usually total crap. Oh, the first episodes are always awful. I've done 10 plus shows, and each show the first episode of the show of the seasons is rough because you got to get the cobwebs out and kind of go with it.
How to make it go in? Yeah, Anton.
Yeah, I have a couple of technical questions because I was involved, slightly in a podcast with Summarise. I wasn't the main person anyway. Okay, if you do podcast, first question: would you go live or would you go recorded?
Recorded? I would do recorded because live, there's a lot of extra anxiety-inducing moments. The internet goes out. The person doesn't show up. Their connection's not good. All these things, like before we did this, a little Inside Baseball, before we did this live stream, we met last week to make sure everything kind of worked.
Yeah.
But doing a live episode of a podcast,
I've done 1,000 live episodes, and many times something that
always goes. Murphy's Law. Something will always go wrong. Exactly. And so the thing is, I prefer to have it recorded. Also, you can also bank a few, and so you can do 2 or 3 episodes. I usually say have 3 to 4 episodes already recorded and released to it when you first start your podcast.
Okay, so when it was my second question. My second question. So when you start a podcast, you release it one by one, or you just record? I don't know.
Oh, you don't Netflix it. You don't Netflix it.
Netflix.
You don't Netflix it. You don't release things all at once. Like Netflix releases everything at once this whole season. You want to release it, on a cadence so people come back and listen to it. I mean, I do suggest when you first start your podcast, you release, the trailer plus 2 other episodes so people can get into the show and then say, hey, these are going to be going out weekly or bi-weekly going forward. Okay. So if you release them all at once, all right, well, that's a flash in the pan. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, then I have a series of questions, unless Alessia has her own.
Okay, you can continue.
I mostly involved with a live stream video, which we still call webinars. We call live stream, but it doesn't matter. But we're talking about video first. And recently, my daytime employees can be just technically convert already recorded webinars, visual webinars into podcasts. And also on the top of it, many people use word podcast. So for example, I'm pretty sure like 50% of people who watching it or will watch it in the recording will call what we do in a podcast.
Oh, they do. They're not right, but you have to have an RSS feed. You have to be able to be picked up in an Apple Podcasts and in Pocket Casts and all those other podcast players to be a podcast. Now you can have your video as well, but like it's definitely like YouTube. It's a YouTube video. If it's just video, you can't listen to it outside of YouTube. If you can listen to it wherever you want to listen to it, then that's a podcast, in my opinion. And a lot of people's
but
opinions.
would you agree? Would you disagree that podcast and the live stream, video live stream, are very, very different things?
They're cousins. They're cousins. I would say they're similar because I feel like because a lot of people do video podcasts as well. They'll do the video, put that up on YouTube, and then put the audio out on the podcast streams. So that's a little bit more. That's a little similar.
I've seen it a lot. I've seen it a lot, but it's usually okay. There might be or might be even brothers, but one brother is a big brother and one brother is a very, very little brother. What I'm trying to say, if you're doing podcast with a thing of audio things, you have a lot of restriction you can't use on video. You can't use visual slides, for example. You can't share a screen because it's no point. You can't see it. You can't use many people because you would confuse your listener.
It gets very confusing when you have a panel. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's so, which means if you're doing both, but you're thinking about audio podcast first. So your audio podcast is a big browser, and it puts so many restrictions, which really kills the video engagement.
It depends. I mean, I know like Leo Laporte over at the Twit Network, he has panel podcasts. And a lot of times he'll say, "Oh, Paris Martineau, what do you have to say about this?" So he'll say, knowing that people are going to be also listening to the show and not watching his show, he will kind of ask people by their name. Hey, Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. But someone who is watching it looks weird. Put it this way, slightly weird because.
It's a weird medium. It's a weird medium. Honestly, it's a bunch of people that are like technically nobodies. They're not necessarily professionals talking into a microphone. I mean, if you think about it, you boil it down to what exactly it's a ham radio. You're boiling it down to it's like audio or video blogging essentially is what it is.
Yeah.
It's what it is. And like we were talking before about your webinars and your employer wanting to make the webinars into audio podcasts. You can do it. Can't hurt. They might not get as much traction as the video, but if someone's doing the dishes and wants to listen to your insights, that's one thing about audio that's nice is that you can do other things while consuming the podcast. Video, you're captive.
Yeah, but I think if you haven't seen a video and you start watching, start listening to something where four people you never hear their voices, so you can't distinguish four people talking, and they're talking and they discuss an item chart, which because you didn't do it before, you didn't tell for sake of audio listener what's on the chart. So I think it would be impossible. I'm saying that because I used
it would be tough. It would be tough. I would say try it and put it and go listen to it while you do the dishes, or just listen to the webinar. Don't go to the audio. Just put the webinar on, put your phone down in the other room and go listen to it and see how horrible it is.
Yeah, okay. Because I remember I was helping Jason Bernard and he was doing basically it's audio podcast, but he had the video as well. And we had one Australian SEO. It wasn't really make it clear, and she came it was live, by the way. And she came with a deck of slides. So Jason decided, okay, we will go with a deck of slides because we've done it. And every slide he started because he was thinking about audio, he was explaining every slide.
Yeah, and that's generally when you do an audio podcast, you want to tell people it's an audio podcast, and then that visuals are not going to come across in audio. So save some time and don't do the video.
Yeah, but it was very, very weird on visual, and of course he did it because if you start using the recording when the host didn't do it because he was expecting visuals, and just put audio track there, okay. But maybe you can find out of 1,000 webinars, maybe you can find it.
You can find a few, I'm sure, out of 1,000 that work, or you can find clips and piece them together and make it into something too. More work, but might be worth doing something.
Yeah, okay. So were my questions on comparison video podcast and audio podcast.
There you go.
also brought slides to Jason Burnout podcast, I remember, but they had code and he had very difficult time explaining what is on the slide because there were like snippets of Python code on them. Like,
Yeah, so you're like, download the slides after the podcast. Yeah, that kind of.
The good thing, good in inverted commas, good thing about podcast usually you can't see how many upload unless it's all but for example on YouTube you go and you see, okay, video has 10 zillions views, and podcast you don't know, which means
the analytics are hard with podcasts, and we're still trying to figure out how to count downloads, count streams, count this, count that. What do we count? Quantify.
Okay, yeah, but it's not obvious. So when I try to compare, when I try to look at podcasts which have the videos, I usually found, though, unless it's just a big figure, everyone knows, everyone want to watch. But if you just general one, obviously I didn't have how many uploads, but it looks always better on a podcast side.
Yeah.
It was on a YouTube. Because as I said, all these restrictions, no visuals, two people talking. For video, it's a little bit boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on the topic that you're listening to. If you're just, and if the person's engaging, like a lot of these shows, like Leo's very engaging in his podcast, and they're literally it's audio. It's meant to be audio first, but watching it's fun because they make someone might giggle, or they might talk about something that's funny and they all crack up laughing. And it's not radio and it's not TV, it's podcasting. So it depends on it's different strokes for different folks, essentially.
How do you set up KPIs for your podcast? How do you know what to expect, what to achieve? How do you do that?
That's kind of hard. That's still kind of hard to do with podcasting. Yeah, I mean, you can set your key performance indicators. For those who don't know what those are, you can set those up and hope that you're gonna meet those KPIs. But for the long run, you're not for a few months, because you're gonna have to get people to know about your show and engage with your show and review you on podcast directories of your choice and all that stuff. So you can set these KPIs. But really, what you got to look at is downloads or streams. Those are the two things I always say in analytics. Look at downloads and streams as kind of your benchmarks of sorts.
So, for example, I run a podcast for 3 to 4 months. Nothing happens. There's one listener, my mom, to it every podcast, and that's it. What do I need to do? Just decide.
Talk about it more on social media. Tell people about it. I mean, basically, my podcast is word of mouth, and that's why podcasting is more. It's also putting out like clips. Like if you're doing audio only, like our Digital Marketing Dive is audio only. We recorded the video. We only post the audio, but we use the video and we put it in something like Opus Clip to get clips out of it.
Yeah, this is very, very clever. So you have a video, but you only use a small piece. So you don't put a boring.
Exactly.
I agree. Sometimes it's not boring, but
sometimes it's not boring. Sometimes it is, and some people like to watch. What I've also noticed is that people watch the shows, and then they'll put it down and listen to the rest of it. And then I might say, "Oh, look at that," and then they'll open it up and look at it. So that it's kind of like dual purpose when it's video. So.
Would you put this short videos on YouTube Short, TikTok?
Oh yeah,
particular short video platform. Yeah.
Yeah, we all have the attention span of a goldfish right now. So people will consume for example, like let's say only your mother's listening to it right now. You have a video component where you just get the clips out. You put them on social media. You put them on YouTube Shorts. You put them on Instagram Reels. You put them on TikTok, whatever the hell they're called, TikTok videos, and put them out there. People are going to find them that way. And then they might come listen to your podcast. Then there's more than just your mother listening to your show now. So,
yeah, but you think
should be. Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
No, then just for the social media, and then should the social media be separate entities, separate profiles, and not your personal ones?
It depends on how you want to pitch it. Like Entrepreneurs Enigma has some of its own has its own YouTube channel, has its own Blue Sky handle. On Instagram, I just have my own Seth the Podcaster handle because I use it for multiple different things, and I publish my shows up there, my clips up there saying, "Hey, this show came out," because that's where the audience was built already. If you're just starting from scratch, I'd say each one should have its own profile.
What I noticed when I started publishing like small videos from SEOcharity on my social media, I lost at least 75% of my visibility that I had before I started that. So I had to stop doing that. So I was wondering if I was doing either something wrong, or do people usually who do that, they launch some other profiles where they just post about these podcasts and that's it.
I'm surprised that you had a drop off from posting shorts. Usually you always have an uptick. But I would say
I reduced my visibility greatly and I have never recovered after that.
Hey, I would then start up an SEOcharity YouTube channel, or just post it on the SEOcharity accounts, and let SEOcharity, because it's branded for that, and people are coming to it for that instead. They're not coming just for you. They're coming. I mean, that's the drop off is that you're now shilling for another property, and it's not to your brand. Whereas if you have a separate brand account, then they're going to the SEOcharity page, profile, account for that content. They're getting what they expect.
Yeah, and sorry I interrupted you.
No. Yeah, honestly, yeah, we do always what is this now is SEOcharity.
Yeah,
and Alessia use her own. Alessia, correct me if I'm wrong. Alessia talking about putting SEO. Or was it no? You putting it on your own YouTube and you lost visibility. Is it correct?
No, it's not about YouTube. It's Facebook, LinkedIn, and other platforms.
all the
Social media.
algorithms
YouTube is okay. Yeah, and so
all the
I
algorithms
just
are different. Yeah.
like I had much more engagement before I started doing that, and I lost almost all engagement completely after that, and I've never recovered. So I had like 100 or 200 people engaged with each of my posts before that, and right now I have like up to 10 people at most.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's weird. That's a weird one. So that's definitely an outlier. Because I mean, I have a general account on Instagram. I don't have the energy to have an account for every brand I have out there. So Instagram, I decided I'm just going to have one Seth, account. It goes well. I mean, but like when I do find when you have individual accounts for your properties, then it does. You get more engagement because they're coming there expecting that. So.
Yes.
No, I didn't see anything on my. Yeah, I probably have the same, and I'm doing it SEOcharity and non-SEOcharity, and don't see any particular drop or peak. Yeah.
Weird. Maybe it was a weird glitch in the matrix.
I've also seen sometimes in the UK, these kind of podcast things are very popular. Radio speakers are very popular. They have even apps in Apple and in Google with subscribers, paid subscribers, which are led by journalists, and there are thousands of people, and it's very popular down here. But in some countries, it's a bit less. And what I found when I was listening to all these, like researching a bit, is that the most popular podcasts are not actually with the guests. Sometimes they are more when people talk from their expertise, when they know something really, really well, and they're just one self-hosted guest show, like something like that. And
different formats hit differently depending on what genre you're in. There's really no rhyme or reason. It really depends on what your knowledge and what you're talking about and what people want to listen to at that moment in time.
But you probably have to be someone in this area before starting a podcast. If you're absolutely unknown and you're starting a podcast, giving you advice and tips,
no one's going to listen to it.
Yeah, nobody listened to it at the beginning. Probably would be very, very difficult to get
a long tail, very much a long tail to kind of get it going. Now, like if you're Gary Vaynerchuk, you can do what the heck you want. because like you're Gary V, you're a loudmouth, and people listen. People disagree, but people still listen. So you can tell how I feel about Gary V.
So you advise or recommend that people start with guests format before
I think that's generally a better format in my opinion. Especially if you're starting from scratch, start with guests or have a hybrid approach where where you look at it from a point of like, let's say you have 2 episodes a month. One's you pontificating out there, just you talking, giving advice, and then the other episode that month is a guest. There's different ways to skin it. Essentially, you can do 2 podcast hosts just talking. You can have a podcast host and a guest. You can have 2 podcast hosts and the guests. You can just have just you talking. You can mix and match it however you want. Keep it interesting.
What I've heard from people who started with guest podcasts is that the perception of them by other people is that they are always asking questions and they are not very experts themselves. So they invite always someone and they are keeping asking questions.
It depends on what you're trying to get out of it, though. I really feel like my thing is like my goal for Entrepreneurs Enigma is for me to meet interesting people, and the people who are listening to my show are just there to listen or be flies on the wall and listen. So if they think that I'm not as knowledgeable, it really comes down to how I'm presenting myself as the host. If you're just asking questions and saying, "Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that," you're kind of throwing yourself under the bus. If you present smart questions that are, thought-provoking, because radio hosts do this all the time. They're asking questions. They're not talking about themselves, and they're still considered experts. So.
Yeah, well, if you ask good questions, interesting, not just very simple and stupid questions, or not doing it shrinks, just repeating the last 2 words to probe. You probably would be look at the expert, and if you don't, well, that's
exactly.
It's why, for example, for my webinars, I usually ask even host. Be an expert. I don't host my own webinars because I'm not an expert. So I bring an expert who is an expert and who can host, and I'll bring some speakers. But obviously for podcast would be strange idea. Okay, if you bring an external podcast, it's not your podcast anymore.
Exactly. So
well, if it's a company, who cares? If you're doing a podcast for big or not very big brand, it doesn't matter. You put a host and you put a host. You just if the host is good and engaging.
Well, then if you're talking about brands, the brand is known. It really doesn't matter who the host is, as long as they can talk to the brand intelligently.
But other way around. If brand is less known and you bring in a big or reasonably known host, would it work for brand?
Oh yeah. Either way, but with a brand, it's easier because you're a brand. If you're a one-off, you're just a person doing it. You have to make yourself into a brand, which Jason Bernard is very big on, is making yourself into a personal brand, that kind of thing. So
some people like me, or Anton too. I'm sorry, Anton. We are not native English speakers, and our pronunciation sometimes is not as good as not sometimes, always is much worse, actually. So, and when you're doing a video, it's quite bearable because there's some image moving, there's some entertainment going on.
They're intelligent, his arms around, all that kind of exactly.
Yeah, there are great guests like Seth Goldstein and other people, so it's okay. But on a podcast, when there's only sound, maybe it's irritating for people to listen to.
It might be a more uphill battle, but it also depends on the content you're talking about. If it's an interesting topic, people will listen to it, even with someone with an accent. If the content's interesting. If you're talking, like you're talking about the lifespan, why cats have 9 lives, and people want to listen to that, they're going to listen to it regardless of what accent you have.
As far as I understand what you're saying.
Please, do you think also another way around? So we were talking about how to make a podcast to grow your business and to meet other people. What do you think about other means of monetization, like doing ads on your podcast, doing sponsorship?
That's great to do. If you can get, sponsors to sponsor your show, fantastic. You're not going to make Joe Rogan money, but you make some money to at least cover your costs.
How much does he make?
Oh, he makes millions. On every show he makes millions. The guy is ridiculous how much the guy makes. But even he supplements his show with supplements. So exactly. Thank you, Simon. Thank you. Of course, I don't speak the proper English.
Well, you don't speak English at all. You speak American, yeah.
I speak Philadelphian, damn it.
Even
exactly.
Yeah. Simon, we should have you for next time. So
absolutely, get Simon on here.
You can speak English.
Yeah, we need someone to speak
properly. Exactly.
Without anything. So what do you think, as a result, as a verdict, should we convert our SEOcharity live streams into podcasts?
I would love it. I think the SEOcharity live streams, I think, should be also audio as well, because I don't see why not, and because it's another way to consume it, another way to get out there. If people like it, great to listen to. If they don't, they don't. It's not going to take a whole lot of production value to do. It's another way for someone to consume it. They can watch it on YouTube. They can then, if you discuss a visual that they want to see, they can go back to YouTube and look at it. Exactly. So,
or maybe we should start a completely open or different thing as SEOcharity audio podcast, and we should ask first to be a host, but obviously we cannot pay because all the money goes to cats and dogs.
Exactly. We'll have my people talk to your people. I'll have all of the dogs negotiate my terms.
Okay. Yes. Send us your dog email. Yeah, we'll connect it with my cat.
Our videos are quite long, like hour long or a bit less, but
I think about
should
an hour.
the podcast be as long? I think that people get tired.
I think it's generally a good size for a podcast is 15 to 30 minutes. But if the topic is good and entertaining, and they're doing the dishes, they're vacuuming the floor, they're doing stuff, they're on a commute, they're on a trip, I think an hour max. So Simon's on a tear today.
Get your AI agent. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I remember that joke when we were talking about what was it? Not audio search, voice search, and we were talking about voice search and everything, and we were talking about that very soon my fridge will be talking to your radio or something like that.
Exactly.
And it was before AI. Now it's all with everything about AI.
Okay, we'll be wrapping up a bit. Seth, where people can find you? Where's the best place to find you? And
you can find me. Best place to find all my links are social.sethgoldstein.me, and it's all in all the links to the are in the deck as well. So
you've got courses.
We have webinars,
and coaching
program.
We
have the community that I do regularly. We have master classes. We have all that stuff. So.
Okay, thank you. As for SEOcharity, we also have a website, we've got YouTube, and we're active on social media, especially Anton, he posts a lot. And we also have an email subscription, so subscribe
and
to receive more announcements.
Please do.
Yes. And donate if you can. If you cannot, you can share this video or share information about SEOcharity with anyone else, and it will help us grow our visibility, our channel, and attract more people. From at least 30 shares, we get one new donator every time. So if you are sharing, you are helping us to get these donations too. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Awesome to see you.